episode 17 of Fist of the North Star 1 Point. The keyword for this episode is going to be evolution, as this episode of the anime is a recap episode. So, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to talk about, in this episode, in this video, we're going to talk about Kenshiro's evolution so far. Let's go back to what happened in the previous episodes, but let's have this big picture vision of Kenshiro's evolution. And I think this is something that we really do miss when we watch this anime, especially later in the anime. We have this obvious great development of so many great characters, right? We'll get to those later, of course. But what about Kenshiro? And without developing too much now, you may think that he's not so developed, or that he has a very simple development. Well, let's try to see the subtleties in these first episodes. The way we're going to do this is by quickly mentioning just the keyword for each episode so far in this series, right? So episode by episode, as quickly as possible, and see how Kenshiro really grows. Now, the keyword of the first episode was hell. Well, I literally talked about the meaning that he got. So the first episode of this anime to me is actually a new Kenshiro being introduced. And especially in the later episodes, this becomes clearer. In the first episode of this anime, we have a new Kenshiro who now has meaning. So that's his most important development. He gets out of hell by getting meaning. That meaning is basically nin. We developed this in the first episode, so I'm not going to repeat everything, of course. We're going to have this big picture. We said also in the second episode, keyword is future, that at the end of the episode we said that most importantly he gets even more, meaning he has faith. And so in that episode he sees wisdom, the wisdom of that old man who protects those seeds that get to be in the image of nin, that thing to protect. That's even more meaning for Kenshiro, and more attachment to that meaning, which gets to be faith, willpower, strength of spirit. Now in the third episode, kindness, 𝚿𝚎 is being influenced by so much kindness and goodness. So he gets to have an ally, and so they work together now. In episode 4, many things happen, and he sees that fake heart. The keyword for that episode was heart. He sees that fake heart as opposed to the real heart that he already knows, which is Yuria's heart. And that is, by the way, the episode in which he learns that the king that everyone is talking about, that is causing all of that terror in the world, is actually the man that caused him to get into chaos, Shin. And so that's big evolution, because it's like we said that is heart is Shin's idea of what a heart is. And so now Kenshiro knows that everything is caused by Shin, the man who put him in chaos, the whole world in chaos, and that is what emotions, heart, kindness, goodness have become. It has become that horrible antagonist, heart. So that's even more conviction, strength to find Shin and Yuria back. The fifth episode is, about Kenshiro's past, so that's quite literally about his development, but like more about the past. We talked about that in that episode. Episode 6, 7, and 8 are the episodes in which we have the God Army doing their thing. Now, the evil people claim being good. That's new stuff. And the good people kind of come across evil. We talked about the character called Smith. Now, Kenshiro sees that, and Kenshiro knows what's going on, and he's told at the end that he's going to regret, but then he never does so. And so that's even more faith in the real God, as we talked about these in those episodes. So you see this evolution. I wanted to do this in this episode, and we're still going. Episode 9 and 10 are the episodes in which we have Patra and Dragon, right? In the 9th episode, the keyword was brotherhood. By the way, 6, 7, and 8, it's God, goodness, and regret. Like, these are all keywords for Kenshiro's development, basically. So that's a cool thing with these keywords. It's like you can see in each keyword, pretty much, Kenshiro's whole progressive evolution. Now we have brotherhood. We said that Kenshiro maybe remembered some things when he saw that people could even go against their own siblings, and that's because of evil. And then for the first time in episode 10, the keyword was corruption. He sees those people still faking being good, but as in even behaving gently, being kind to Kenshiro and wanting to be allies with him, allying with him, but actually holding all of people's wealth, people's everything. And when you think about it, that was the first time that happened to him, and it's each time these different things happening to him for the first time and adding meaning to his meaning, to the meaning that he already has, or strengthening his faith in good and opposing evil. Episode 11, 12, and 13 are the ones with 𝚎𝚎𝚅. 11 was faith. In that episode, it's that episode with that grandmother, 𝚿𝚎𝚅, right? And so we said that he saw that kind of maternal energy. And at the end of the episode, he remembers 𝚎𝚎𝚅. That 𝚿𝚎𝚅 gets to be kind of the opposite of 𝚿. So 𝚿 is that fragile female child that represents innocence to protect in that epic. So he saw a bit of 𝚎𝚅 in 𝚿, because 𝚎𝚅 represents that too. But not only that, she, especially later in the anime, she will represent a maternal energy. And so that's older, let's say, that's more of an adult than a child. And so we get that in that episode with the 𝚿𝚎𝚅, with the grandmother. She's kind of like the wise old woman, let's say. So it's that wisdom that we get of faith and also maternal energy. And we talked about these in that episode. So Kenshiro sees that for the first time in that episode. Next we have episode 12 with loyalty, and Kenshiro now witnesses that chaos amongst criminals betraying each other, and every time causing their own end. In episode 13, Devil. Kenshiro finishes the devil in that episode. These are every time new. We're almost finished. Episode 14 is, so we mentioned in episode 9, brotherhood. People, because of criminals, people even go against each other, their siblings. Now, they don't want to do that, but their goodness kind of gets compromised because of evil. And now we have a more extreme representation of this, a realization of this with the character called Duran Sensei, as they call him, right? In this 14th episode, and we talked about how he goes back to actually doing something evil and kind of feeling it. We talked about his smile, right? And how he eventually pays for what he did with his own life. And finally, the last video I'm going to mention is the 15th one, with the keyword being manipulation, being quite similar to the God Army, but this time there's this kind of religious theme. Everyone is manipulated by the 𝚎𝚅𝚅, the antagonist of this episode, coming across a priest, but that is merely an illusion, and then 𝚿 was in danger and Kenshiro was paralyzed in that episode. It's a very interesting episode too, with new things again, and Kenshiro gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Finally, we also have episode 16, but that's the previous video that I made about betrayal, quite close to the 12th video called loyalty, but slightly different. I mean, we developed that in the previous video. Now, this is very interesting to see. So Kenshiro is not a static character at all, and his development is not only what we get later in the anime, which is also great, and we'll talk about that later, but so far he has great, subtle, progressive development. And I wanted to talk about this in this video as an analysis of this recap episode, so I kind of wanted to do the same thing, a relatively longer video than the previous ones, but hopefully it will be beneficial for everyone. Thank you very much for watching, and I don't know, I just can't conclude